Just a few years ago, people joked about Chinese cars all the time. Cheap builds, weak quality, easy to ignore. Nobody thought they could seriously compete with brands running the global market. But now, China is taking over the EV industry way faster than experts predicted, and major companies like Tesla are starting to feel real pressure fast. So what changed? How did China go from being called copycats to becoming one of the biggest forces in the future of transportation? For years, the car business was ruled by giants like Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, and later Tesla. China wasn't even part of this serious conversation. Most Chinese vehicles were seen as low-cost knockoffs with poor design, weak performance, and almost zero innovation attached to them. But behind the scenes, Beijing was planning something much bigger. While other countries stayed comfortable with gas-powered cars, China was quietly building a long-term strategy to control the next wave of transportation technology. The goal wasn't just competing anymore. China wanted dominance. Then electric vehicles changed everything. The old rules suddenly stopped mattering the same way. Traditional automakers had decades of experience building combustion engines, but EVs flipped the entire industry upside down. Batteries became more important than engines. Software started mattering more than mechanical parts, and that opened the door wide for China to catch up fast. While many Western car companies moved slowly and played it safe, China pushed forward aggressively. The government poured billions into EV factories, charging networks, battery production, and local car brands. At the same time, companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng exploded in growth at a speed the rest of the world could barely keep up with. But here's the part that really changed everything. China's biggest advantage isn't even the cars themselves, it's the batteries. Right now, China controls a huge chunk of the global battery supply chain, and that gives them enormous power in the EV world. From lithium processing to battery production to massive factory scaling, China built an ecosystem that many countries are still struggling to catch up to. Companies like CATL and BYD didn't just grow fast, they turned into global giants, while competitors were still trying to figure out the market. And that matters because batteries are the most expensive part of an electric vehicle. So if you control the batteries, you control a massive part of the entire industry itself. In a lot of ways, China saw where the future was heading long before most Western governments and automakers fully realized it. What makes this story even crazier is that Tesla may have accidentally helped speed up China's rise. When Tesla opened its Gigafactory in Shanghai, it brought advanced production systems, supply chains, and high-level EV manufacturing directly into China. Local companies studied the process closely, and they learned incredibly fast. Since China already had lower labor costs, huge industrial infrastructure, and strong government backing, Chinese EV makers could produce vehicles faster and cheaper than many Western rivals. That created a serious advantage almost overnight. Now, Chinese EV brands aren't staying inside China anymore. They're rapidly expanding into Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and parts of the Middle East. Some analysts even believe Chinese car companies could eventually reach the same level of global dominance Japanese automakers once had. And this is exactly why leaders in the US and Europe are getting nervous. Because this fight is no longer just about selling cars anymore. It's about economic power, industrial control, global influence, and who controls the future of transportation itself. Now, the biggest question is getting harder to ignore. Can the West actually catch up, or has China already built a lead that's becoming impossible to slow down? Because this EV battle was never only about cars rolling off factory lines, it's really about who controls the industries of the future. Technology, energy, manufacturing, software, and global influence. And at this moment, China is moving faster than almost everybody else, while many competitors are still trying to adjust to the new reality. And the wild part is, this could just be the start. Electric vehicles are only one piece of China's much bigger tech strategy. The next major question people are asking now is simple. What industry will China dominate next? But there's another reason the world is paying close attention to China's rise in EVs: pricing. Chinese companies figured out how to make electric vehicles cheaper, much faster than many Western brands. And in today's economy, that changes everything. In many countries, people want EVs, but they simply can't afford the high prices. That's where Chinese automakers started gaining serious momentum. Brands like BYD began releasing electric cars that were thousands of dollars cheaper than some competitors, while still offering modern designs, advanced screens, smart software, and strong battery performance. Suddenly, buyers had more options, and the traditional car giants started feeling the pressure fast. Some Western governments are now responding with tariffs and restrictions on Chinese EV imports, arguing that China's heavy government support gives its companies an unfair advantage. But critics say those moves also show something else: fear. Fear that Chinese automakers could flood global markets with affordable EVs and completely disrupt the industry. At the same time, China keeps pushing deeper into battery technology. Companies are racing to develop batteries that charge faster, last longer, and cost less to produce. And if China stays ahead in battery innovation, its lead in the EV market could become even harder to challenge over the next decade. Meanwhile, legacy automakers that once dominated the world are now being forced to adapt at a speed they've never faced before. Some companies are cutting jobs, restructuring factories, and rushing to launch new EV models just to stay competitive in this rapidly changing market. The global car industry is entering a completely new era, and nobody knows exactly who will come out on top. But one thing is becoming very clear: China is no longer the underdog people laughed at years ago. It's now one of the biggest players shaping the future of transportation worldwide. Now the biggest question is impossible to ignore. Can the West still catch up, or has China already built a lead that's becoming way too massive to slow down? Because this EV battle was never just about cars hitting the streets. This is about control over the industries of the future: technology, energy, manufacturing, software, and global economic power. And right now, China is moving at a speed that has a lot of governments and companies scrambling to keep up. And the craziest part, this may only be the beginning. Electric vehicles are just one piece of China's much larger strategy to dominate next-generation technology. So now people everywhere are asking the same question: what industry could China take over next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is only getting bigger. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone following the future of tech and global power. More videos coming soon.